All right, our next speaker is our very own Dr. Shannon Rupert. She is the Director and Program Manager of MDRS, which is our Mars Desert Research Station, where we conduct our crew rotations in Utah. She's going to give us an update on the activities that are currently happening there. Please welcome Dr. Rupert.
So briefly, basically what I wanted to do today is show you guys some pictures to demonstrate the growth of the campus in the last few years. And I took all the pictures, most of them, from the crew logs this year. So what you're going to see is a bunch of pictures that if you follow us real closely online, you'll recognize some of them. And then any photos that I took myself, it says photo by me. Okay, I'm a bit of a pacer, so if I pace away from the, and you can't hear me, just holler. I've also been a teacher for a very long time, so I don't mind interruptions. All right, so I thought I'd start with a picture of my Rovers. They don't get their feet stuck on Mars. I also just wanted to kind of show you things from my perspective. As the director of the station, I'm the only one who lives there full time. I'm the only one who hides from the researchers when they come out. The dogs have to too. So when they're on an EVA, we have to avoid them like the plague. And so I have this kind of outside looking in view that most people who come to MDRS don't have. And my three companions are these three Rovers that you see here. And so I thought that was a really good picture, not only of what the station sort of looks like now, but also of my ideas behind it. So to let you know, I have been involved at the station since its inception, and I have been on a crew. I don't know what crew, I've been on a lot of crews. I don't know exactly what crew this is, but it was a cute picture of me, so I used it. And then there's me in just this past season doing we do about a day and a half of training when the crews first come to MDRS. And this is me doing some training in the field. So my objectives are to show you some pictures of the facilities. I'm going to talk more about the facilities than actually the program itself. It's kind of a talk for another day. It's pretty complicated. A little bit on MDRS and its relevance as a true Mars geologic analog. Some of my pictures, technically speaking, didn't make the trip with me, so I'm going to keep that briefer than I thought I would. And then how to get involved in what we do. And again, remember all these pictures come from the website, so you can go on the website and look at more if you're interested. So in terms of the campus, what we originally had was the habitat, the single iconic tuna can that you guys are all really used to seeing. Originally, the lower deck held the spacesuits, the science lab, the engineering bay, and the bathroom. Upstairs held 6 or 7 people, a kitchen, a table, and a workbench. Well, there's still, the upstairs configuration is pretty much the same, although we've added a 7th stateroom upstairs in the loft area. But the downstairs has been completely stripped for a remodel. IKEA is designing spacesuit cubbies for each of the spacesuits, and what used to be the laboratory will now be a multi-purpose room with these kind of cool, it's kind of like what you see like in baseball locker rooms, with the suits and the helmet sit in there, and then there's drawers for gloves and for each individual Marsnaut's boots. So that makes it really, really cool. I don't have pictures of the interior because we're doing, finishing the redesign this October, and I thought I'd save that for next year. So after the hab was built, we built the green hab, which was a closed-loop recycling system for water, and the Musk Observatory, which originally stood on a hill behind the hab, but has since been moved down on the flat because its base got twisted with the erosion on the rocks. Our green hab burned down several years ago. Most of you guys are probably aware of that. The green hab, which was converted from that water recycling system to our first kind of greenhouse. And then beginning in 2016, when I came on board full-time and actually started living at the station, we built a new green hab, a new science dome. We installed a new engineering building, and we now have a robotic observatory, so you can view MDRS skies from anywhere in the world. And all those things have been really, really exciting and have opened up new opportunities and for different kinds of research and participation at the station. And we installed a new power system in 2017. We have solar now with a backup generator, so our power problem is really, really strong and really, really steady. It's funny sometimes people who are even on cruise, they'll send me emails like, do you have power there? What do you do for the bathroom? And I'm like, dude, it's like a real house, you know? It's like, yeah, your bedroom's a closet, but pretty much the hab itself is a fully contained, round, two-story house. You have a bathroom, shower, you can wash your hands, those kinds of things. I like this picture. It's a picture of me a long time ago. I have no idea when. So the hab actually doesn't look a lot like this anymore, except, yeah, it looks a lot like that still. I'll go with that. It looks like that. Actually, I just pulled all the skirting off the bottom before I left, so it really does kind of look like that right now. Porch is black now. Okay, so one of our, the biggest interests that people have is how to grow food on Mars. And we wanted to see how we could grow food for our crews. And we started in our old greenhouse, which really wasn't a greenhouse. It was that water recycling system. And so we took the opportunity, when it burned down, that sounds bad somehow, to build a new one. When you see the Science Dome started out as our new greenhouse. And once we got it built into the frame up, we realized there was really no way to keep it wind and water tight, and you need that to grow crops. And so we built another greenhouse that is 12 by 24. It actually is built on the platform of a single car garage, but when you look at it, don't think single car garage, think greenhouse. And so we built this greenhouse, and 2 years ago, the first year, we had no crops in the greenhouse when we started the season, and nobody planted any. I mean, it was really grim. So lesson number one, if you're going to grow crops on Mars, make sure somebody really wants to eat them. This year, we started the season with the crops already in, and we had a really, really successful season. Unless you don't like cherry tomatoes, because we had so many cherry tomatoes. So many that I'm sure that when I went in there and ate a dozen of them, the crew didn't go, hey, who took our 12 cherry tomatoes? But they probably noticed it a few times. So I'm very proud of the way the Green Hab worked this year. We don't have any aquaponics, because that's another question that people are going to ask me. Honestly, I am not a fan of aquaponics. My firm belief is that on Mars we'll grow plants the way we always have, in some form or another. And so basically the Green Hab is climate controlled, so we run it all season. It gets really hot towards the end of the season, but it stays toasty warm during the winter. And we have supplemental winter lighting, which makes the campus look really beautiful. And so, again, like as I mentioned, we ended up with a full greenhouse full of crops, herbs, a lot of cucumbers, and lettuce type stuff. The Science Dome is my favorite building on campus. I feel like it's my child. So the Science Dome, again, was that original greenhouse, and it was a crowd-funded greenhouse. And so after we built the structure, well, you don't tear down something that people paid you to build, right? So I'm like, science lab, science lab. So I made a huge proposal, and Robert agreed to it, and so we built the Science Dome, which is a 20-foot in diameter geodesic dome, and there's some fancy name for it, but it's very tall inside. And it's very well insulated. We don't have to heat it or cool it as long as the doors and windows are kept closed. And so you can go in there in the winter and be as comfortable as you can go in the summer. IKEA is doing the cabinetry and the lighting in this building. So you'll notice there's a lot of temporary tables here in the one panoramic picture I have. And so that'll change. What I really liked about this building, other than the fact that it has blue walls and I kind of conceived it, is the view is fantastic. When we originally decided we weren't going to use it for a greenhouse, it had been covered in this big white tarp, and it ripped right where you see these big windows here. And the view was just so breathtaking that, you know, all plans, when everybody would say, why don't we put little portholes in all the way around it? And how is one big window going to be enough light? But if you've been in it, it's spectacular when you look out that window, and it really gives you the feel that you're on Mars. So, like I said, it's my favorite building. We have 2 observatories now. We have the original Musk Observatory, which has been converted into a solar observatory, and the crews are allowed to use it and handle it. The robotic observatory, as you can see, it's the tiny one in the upper right-hand corner, the farthest away, is completely robotic, so it doesn't even open unless you open it online. And it just got up and running about, well, less than a month ago. The astronomy team was out there and finally got it completely online. So this year is the first year that we'll actually be able to use it. It's the same telescope as we've always had, so the picture that you see in this slide was taken from our telescope. And the crews will be able to use it from inside, and will also belong to Skynet, and so you can sign up for a telescope time wherever you are on the planet, which is really, really pretty cool. Final building that we put in was the RAM, the repair and maintenance module, that some of you might have seen. It was parked outside at last year's conference. It got delivered to MDRS in October, and we put it in. It is the engineering building, or the place where people are more likely to have their picture taken in this complete, there are hundreds of pictures of people. Okay, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but people like to take their picture in this building. It also works really good if you need to take something big, like a water tank, inside and clean it. We actually had our first contaminated water issue this year. In all the seasons that we've been at MDRS, we haven't had contaminated water. The crew that was there got right on top of it, and we cleaned all the tanks, and within 3 days we were back online with water. And what they did, because they wanted to stay in sim, was to roll the tanks into the RAM and clean them in there, which was really, really hard and nasty work. It has not fully been used. We finally got the tunnel connected to it right at the end of the field season. So we're looking forward to a lot more use of this building in the next year. This is, again, an overview of the campus. This was in October, right after we put the RAM in there, so you can kind of see the configuration of where everything is. No, we don't generally have vehicles outside in front of the hab like this. It was pre-season. As I mentioned earlier, we have a 15 kilowatt solar power station, and yes, that is the control stations on the wall. It's a pretty impressive thing when you walk in the Science Dome and you see it, but really only that little box, that little black box is the most important thing. It's 5K on 3 different inverters, and then they run into a 10K battery pack, so we don't have any kind of brownout issues with power at all. We have steady, consistent power. And in the winter, we do have to supplement it with the generator at night, and we have a 12 kilowatt generator. So really loving the new power system. If you were on a crew back in the day when we had those little generators that lasted about 3 weeks, and then they'd die and we'd have to get a new one and you had to refill it every 6 hours, you'll know how important it is to have consistent power. And especially given the technology that we see crews bringing to MDRS, that steady system has been a great improvement. We also have new stairs. This is actually Gen 3. Our first stairs were kind of a laddery thing, and then we got the ship's ladder thing that you can see this dude here pedaling his bike underneath it. And then we just put in the actual metal stairs. The idea behind these stairs was to allow crews to walk partway up and then push their bags or their belongings up the stairs. It's a much less dangerous way than they used to have to kind of crawl halfway up the stairs, push their bag up to the stairs. Because a lot of people have proposed a dumbwaiter, but nobody's actually kind of come and put one in, so I'm waiting for that day. But anyhow, we're really proud of them. We have new railings upstairs and 2 new ladders upstairs. It really gives the place a more spaceship-like feel. So really happy. It took many years. You guys, some of you have been hearing me say, oh, we're getting new stairs for several weeks. So several years. Yeah, for several weeks. I did it in several weeks. We also have new Rovers. Beginning this field season, we will no longer be using ATVs. We will be using all-electric Polaris Rangers that are safer and are much more flight-like. So they're more Martian, and we have 5 of them. I guess they're my Rovers too, because most of them have Rover-y names. Sojourner's actually the one I use all the time. So I wanted to point out that in the past few years, we've had a lot of spacesuit rebuilding activity and redesigning activity that has been completely handled by the NorCal Mars Society chapter. And they've developed a series of 2 different types of suits. This is one of the suits. These are a one-piece suit. It's an exploration suit. We originally thought you wouldn't be able to drive in the Rovers with them, but you can. I like them because they feel more like a backpack to me. And we still have the old style suits. We just had some new ones made last year, and they're actually making 6 more for us this year. We're really lucky because I get asked all the time. People are constantly emailing me saying, hey, we want one of those suits, where do we get one? And the NorCal chapter has made them very specific to us. So the question I get most often, I give a lot of tours when there's off days, or if there's, I have school classes that come, and they're always like, well, why are you here? And you know, they truly mean that. You know, why did you choose this place? And originally, I think we picked it more because it looked like Mars. We had some data from Pathfinder and Viking, so we knew that there were blueberries, and you knew what it looked like. And with each subsequent rover results, we find that we are more and more a true Mars geologic analog, and so we picked our spot really well. I wanted to make a huge argument here for more field science at MDRS, and again, those pictures were lost, so I'm not going to actually do that. I'll save that for next year. But in the meantime, some of the work that I do without the crews on my own is do some, well, sometimes I involve some of the crews. I'm looking at halophile patterns and extremophile patterns. And I'm also doing this really cool project where I'm looking at patterns of chemical composition in dinosaur bones, which is something we don't really talk about. The MDRS crews don't talk about the dinosaurs out there because we don't know that there's dinosaurs on Mars. But it's been really, really awesome. I just get to wander about for hours, and the state of Utah tests my samples. So even though I don't do the lab work, I'm putting together a really good picture of where the bones are out there, and the composition, the work on chemical composition is used to type where dinosaurs come from when they find stolen and misplaced dinosaur bones. That sounds funny. And it's really, really cool. And last year, I actually found a complete sauropod, and it's going to be excavated next summer. And it's actually less than 1 kilometer away from MDRS. So if you're ever out there and they're like, hey, his name's Henry, so just say, I want to see Henry. And I'll take you out there and show you Henry. He's pretty cool. I was very excited about that, because usually I just find remnants of bones, and we can't really identify what it was. So to find a whole dinosaur outside the quarry was really exciting. So in the field system, I guess I don't have much time. So for the field season this year, we ran from October to June. We had 14 regular crews from all around the world. We did 2 major media events. We did one in Japan, where there was a 1.5-hour documentary. They interviewed me for 10 hours. And it was actually, it aired a couple months ago, and it's really beautifully done. I look really intelligent. I don't really know what they said I said, but, and then we had the Korean project was a reality show. There were 5 Korean celebrities that came out, and they filmed an 8-part series on the 5 celebrities doing what regular crews do at MDRS. And I hear it's got a pretty good showing in the Korean media. They're a little disappointed. They wanted more. I said, put it on YouTube. Well, I'll watch it. So we also had our first intern this year. Attila was with me for 3 months, and wow, was it a learning experience for both of us. Would love to have more interns at MDRS. It does need to be during the field season, which makes it hard unless you're from the Southern Hemisphere. Come on, let's go. Okay, so looking forward, our next field season begins in October. We start out with 2 work parties. We have a general work party at the very beginning of October. And a little while later, a week or so later, we're having the IKEA install party. We say they're parties so that you'll come out and work hard for us, and you know, we're trying to lure you there. But honestly, we work about 4 hours a day. I say that, we plan to work about 4 hours a day. Most people work longer than that. And then the field season starts right after those work parties, and it runs way too long again, clear till like the middle of May. And then also keep in mind that the Mars VR, which is coming up next, is an exciting new development at MDRS. So how to get involved? Apply, come out, be a crew member. Come to the work parties. There are other events. You know, just if you want to come out, say, hey, what are you doing? Is there something I can contribute to? We also have expert groups, such as the Spacesuit group and the astronomy team, that you might be interested in volunteering for. And we're always looking for Capcoms for our mission support efforts. So we're doing a little bit of remodeling of the mission support system this year, hoping to get back into some science and engineering experts. Although one of the most recent developments at MDRS is that each researcher is now responsible for their own research. We no longer, approve generally a person's research. In the past, we've been much more involved in the research that comes out to the station. So, any questions? And I'm ending with this is a Rover, another Rover. And this one the Japanese crew brought out, and they did not let me steal. They packed it up 2 days before they left to make sure that I didn't take it with me.
Probably have time for a couple of questions. I think we have one over there.
Yes, thank you. On nutrition, do you have plans for raising protein in that facility in some way?
My plan is to find somebody who wants to raise protein in that facility and come and do it.
Very good.
Good morning. Thank you much for the talk. It's wonderful. Question about basic sanitary conditions, healthcare research being done to facilitate ambulatory disaster management. Can you please comment on that?
We actually have a lot of medical research that has happened in the past and is ongoing. And it's one of those areas where we used to have a medical team that organized a lot of this, and it's kind of splintered apart. We used to actually have flight surgeons that supported the crews, and then there was also medical research that was done. There's a great need to form that team again because of the varying types of medical expertise that we get out there that don't talk to each other, and I would love to see them talk to each other. So again, that's another way to get involved if you want to, if your interest is biomedical and medical fields. And we have a lot of really good people who are interested and are working out there. And some collaboration would be great. I'm all for the more collaboration, the better. Uh-oh, it's John Stone.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, John.
Shannon, I heard there was talk of building a second hab adjacent to the present hab.
Yeah, that's been considered quite a bit, and I'm of two minds about it. It was kind of interesting to listen to the SpaceX talk where they're talking about building multiple outposts several kilometers from each other. And that's actually the way I view that, as it would be wonderful to have a second hab that we could use as a first landing scenario hab, because now MDRS has grown kind of more to a research base, a small colony, second landing kind of thing. And, but we're limited a little in the land that we can use in Utah. We have a whole section, but we only have 40 that we can build on. And so then, if you have 12 people, but they're on the same base, how does that work? I don't know about you, but that scares me, because in all my dreams of, you know, red, blue, green Mars, I only go as far as there being 6 scientists there, because that's what I do. So I think it would be a great idea. I think that a lot of people need to keep thinking and considering about it. And another thing that we're really interested in doing is working with the other analog stations around the world, those that are, you know, that, for example, Amundi, the next one is in November of 2020, and we're keeping those 2 crews in November open for teams that want to propose a collaboration with them so that there would be 2 functional Mars analog stations on analog Mars at the same time. And how do you collaborate without that time delay that you have with mission support? So that's some exciting. There's a lot of things we could do with the second hab.
Could I come out next year and fix the stuff that I broke last year?
How much you gonna pay me? You can come out anytime.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rupert.